Hi, this is Marianne from Marianne's Yarn Studio, and today I'm going to show you the heel flap, turning the heel, picking up stitches for the gusset, and starting the decreases for the gusset. So we're going to do quite a bit here, and this is where a lot of people get hung up. Okay, I have already put my stitches on the needle and worked most of the heel flap. I'm ready to do the last row before I start turning the heel. As you can see, I put the instep stitches on the two other needles, and they just hang there while I'm working the heel flap back and forth. You purl the back row, and on the front row you slip and then knit one. Okay, so we slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, and so on across the row. Now, one thing you may notice is that the slip stitches are bigger than the knit stitches, so that helps you keep track of where you are. For example, right now we slipped one, we're ready to knit, slip, knit, and the last stitch should be a knit stitch. Okay, now I'm going to start turning the heel. This time we're going to purl 12 stitches. First we slipped the first stitch, and now we're going to purl 12. Trying to keep this in the field of the camera. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, now we purl 2 together and purl 1. Okay, now there's 6 stitches here. 2, 4, 6. We turn the work without doing anything with those stitches, and now we're going to go back 5. We slip the first stitch, and then we knit 5. Okay, we slipped 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, now we do an SSK, and we knit 1. And there's 2, 4, 6 remaining. Okay, we didn't do anything with those. We slip this stitch, and now we're going to purl over to the gap. You'll see there's a gap here between the purl 2 together and the purl 1. Now let's see if I can purl. Okay, we're at the gap. We're going to purl those 2 together and purl 1. Okay, there's 4 stitches remaining. We don't do anything with those. We turn the work and we go back to the gap on the knit side. And we slip, slip, and knit. There's 4 stitches remaining. You can see the heel start to form here. Okay, we slip the first stitch. Now we're going to purl across to that gap. A book that's really clear on this kind of thing, that's a good reference, is called Knit Socks by Betsy McCarthy. Okay, here's the gap. We're going to purl 2 together here, and purl 1. And she has instructions so clear that you can knit a sock from it. That's where I learned to knit my first sock. Okay, we have 2 stitches left. Now we're on the knit side. We're going to knit over to that gap. And I'll do the SSK real slow this time in case you don't know how to do that. You slip as if to knit, slip as if to knit, put the left hand needle in and knit with the right hand needle. And then we're going to knit 1. 2 stitches left. You can see that heel forming there, flattening out. I think turning the heel is one of the coolest things around. Okay, we're going to purl over to that gap. Okay, there's our gap. And purl 1. And you can see that we've worked all the stitches. There are none remaining. And so we will go over to the other side. Slips, knit to the gap, okay, we do our SSK here, and now we're ready to pick up the gusset stitches, but first let's look at our work. Okay. Here is the side view of what we have just done. We have gone from knitting straight in this direction, and now we've turned our heel and we're going to go that direction. First we pick up the gusset stitches, and I think it's best if you go through both loops of the slip stitches, but here you can see the stitches that we've been slipping have left a chain. I hope you can see those stitches there. And that's where we're going to be going. Okay, we're going to go I can't see very well here. Through there, and through there, and through there. Okay, I hope you can see where we're going. We're going right through here. This is what it means to pick up a knit. So we're going underneath those slip stitches there. And picking up each stitch. Okay, now we're to our instep needle, and so that there's not too big of a gap there, we just pick up a stitch along here, and we try and find a spot where there's not a big gap left, or an opening. Okay, so that leaves a little bit too big of an opening. Everybody has a different style and technique, so let's try going here. Okay, that's not leaving too big of an opening, so we've picked up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches. Okay, now we're going to be putting our instep stitches together on one needle. Now what I like to do for a little while is to knit on, have all the stitches divided up onto 4 needles, keep those heel stitches on one needle. It helps you maintain a flat, nicely shaped heel. Some people have you divide the heel right away, and sometimes I do that now, but I think for learning purposes and to prevent ladders in this portion that we're going to be knitting, it's best to leave the heel stitches on one needle. Okay, now in the pattern, I would like to keep a purl stitch here so there's not two knit stitches next to each other. So we're going to purl into the front of the stitch and knit into the back. And we've increased one stitch. And we started with the purl, went to a knit. Okay, now we're going to do our rib pattern across. The rib pattern will be maintained on the instep all the way down until we get to the toe. Okay, now on the left side of the gusset we want to pick up, we're going to knit here into the front and back and increase there. That will give us 22 stitches here, and we'll have 20 stitches that will decrease to on the instep, and that will maintain 42 stitches. And it will also give us a purl stitch between here so we don't have knit stitches right together, and it'll maintain a little bit of that ribbed pattern. Okay, so we picked up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stitches total on this side. So we're going to try and pick up the same number on the left side. Okay, we're going to go in between here. Okay, there's our first slip stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think they're showing up a little bit better on this side, if you can see through there. We'll just continue to pick up and knit through those. And let's see if we have 12 stitches. Hopefully that's what we ended up with. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It's always nice when things work. Okay, now we're going to bring in the 5th needle and knit across the heel stitches. There should be 14 heel stitches on here. Okay, now when we get to where we picked up our stitches, in order to prevent it from gaping open, and I'll show you what I mean, if we just knit a stitch, look at that big opening there. There's a big opening. So we want to pick up we want to knit through the back loop of the stitches that we've picked up to prevent that. So here's the front, and we're going through the back of the loop. This twists the stitch, closes that opening, and makes for a nicer finish. Also a stronger finish. Okay, and then you're ready to work across the instep, the rib pattern, and then you do the same down this side. I'm going to break from the camera for a second, and then we'll pick it up when I'm ready to do the decreases.